Alright, so today I found another clutch of Ball Python eggs under one of my females, which is pretty exciting. And this female is pretty interesting. As a matter of fact, this is the first time she's ever laid a clutch of eggs. So she's a first time layer. She's a pretty small snake. And just at a quick glance, when I saw the snake kind of clutching the eggs, you know, just kind of peeking through the coils of the snake, it looked like the eggs were slightly smaller than a typical Ball Python egg, which is pretty typical of a first time snake layer. And the other thing that's interesting too is it looked like they were good eggs, like she didn't have any slugs in there, but it looked like there weren't very many eggs, so we'll have to pull that snake off those eggs, then put them up in the incubator and see how many eggs there are. And the pairing on this one was pretty interesting. As a matter of fact, I've been working on this one for probably about 5 years, almost since the beginning when I started in ball pythons. The combination of this, I actually bred a lesser scaleless head male to a lemon blast scaleless head female with the pastel and the pinstripe. So I'll actually have 3 genes at play: the lesser, the pastel, and the pinstripe. And since both the male and the female are scaleless heads, 25% of the time I'll actually hit the completely scaleless ball python, which is pretty awesome. I've been wanting to produce a scaleless ball python ever since the beginning. As a matter of fact, when I first started in ball pythons, one of the very first snakes that just completely blew me away, when I first, as a matter of fact, before I even knew about ball pythons, I was actually at work and someone in the lunchroom came up and said, "Hey, check out this snake." And they actually showed me a picture on their phone of the snake over on MorphMarket of a scaleless head ball python selling for $45,000. That was the very first snake, and I was like, what in the world's going on in the world of pet snakes with this $45,000 snake? And then when I actually got in, the price started coming down really super fast. I picked up my first scaleless head. I think it was like $1,500 for a male scaleless head with no other genes in there. And I started breeding it through my collection, and then I actually produced the lesser and the lemon blast and some other genes in with the scaleless head. Held those back, and it's been a couple years since I produced those. So this is a long-term project. I've been trying to produce my very first completely scaleless ball python, which hopefully I'll actually hit this year. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you this female on the eggs, then we'll pull the female off the eggs and we'll put the eggs up in the incubator. Alright, so this girl lives over here in this ARS 5040 rack. Her name is Anastasia, female lemon blast scaleless head. Hopefully she has some viable eggs in here, more than 1 or 2. I don't know how many eggs she actually has. They look pretty small, just that one right on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this girl out of this rack. I'm going to put her on the table and then we'll pull her off her eggs. It's kind of interesting what the scaleless head does to the pattern on the lemon blast. You can see it's almost reduced, like it has enchy or something in there, but that's actually just the effect of the scaleless head gene. And you can definitely tell on her head that she's missing some scales, that she's definitely a scaleless head. Alright, so wow, look at this. I'm looking at a different angle. It looks like she's got quite a few eggs under there. And it looks like she wants to tag me here. Looks, you know, kind of the interesting thing is they always kind of cock their head like that, but I've never actually been struck at by a snake on eggs. They always look like they're gonna bite you. But as far as I've seen, I've never actually, she's kind of freaking me out now, now that I say that. Is she gonna bite me or not? And then usually once you start picking up, wow, look at all these eggs. And she has a couple slugs. Ooh, she's got a little boob egg in there. Let's see if she has any eggs in her belly still. No eggs in her belly that I can see. She's a really good looking snake. She's been really stubborn as far as feeding. As a matter of fact, I had to move her over to a lot of live food to kind of get some weight on her because she's been really picky with the frozen thawed. And that's kind of why I got her up to weight this year, which is, I'm glad she laid some eggs. But it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good eggs. A boob egg, sometimes the boob eggs can actually produce a small hatchling, and then 1 little slug there. So I'm going to take this girl, put her in this boa tub here temporarily. And let's take a look at these eggs. So this is definitely a bad egg right here. This is an infertile slug that definitely will not hatch. And these, look at these are not even together. I'm just going to separate all these. They're all pretty much separated. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and these little eggs, these little boob eggs, sometimes you can actually hatch those out. So don't give up on your little eggs like that. It's like half slug, and I don't know if this one would be any good. We can actually look at it. We can candle it and see if there's anything in there. These are really small eggs. Look at how tiny these are compared to a regular ball python egg. This is more of a normal size, I'd say, but this one is like really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to candle these with my little pocket flashlight here. And we'll see if these are any good. Let's see. Oh, this isn't looking too... Oh, there we go. Look at that. So normally what I do is I have the embryos on top during incubation. So that's a good egg. Seeing some veins in there. That's a good egg, yeah. And you figure if we have 4 eggs, the odds are in our favor that we'll actually get at least one completely scaleless. Of course, the odds can completely... you never trust the odds. Sometimes the odds can be 1 in a million. Sometimes you can get all scaleless snakes. Sometimes you can get none. Sometimes you can get, yeah, it's just kind of a luck of the draw as far as what you can get. It looks like all these eggs are good. Nice. This one looks good. There's the embryo right there, right up on top. That looks good. This one, I don't know if we'll see anything in this boob egg here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You see a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not even going to mark that one, but that one's actually looking good with some veins in that little boob egg. I might as well go ahead and show you this egg too. This is basically what an infertile slug looks like. No veins. And sometimes you get an egg that looks like it's fertile, like completely white like these, that has no veins, and it's essentially kind of a false slug where it looks like it's a good egg, but in fact it's just a slug. Alright, so today I'm going to use some perlite as the incubation medium in my egg box here, because I can't find any vermiculite. I guess there's something, I don't know where they get the vermiculite from, but nobody can find it, which is kind of crazy. So for this I use a 16-ounce deli cup, and I've been using 2 of them. This bag's getting pretty low, but I do have another bag of perlite. And as a matter of fact, you can go to the stores and everyone has tons and tons of perlite, so there's really no risk of running out. I don't know what you use. If you run out of perlite, I guess you could use like sponges or something like that. And then for the water, I've just been filling this little bowl up about halfway, put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and it brings it up to about 85 to 90 degrees. So I'm just going to dump the whole thing in. This is a 1 quart, so I'm using about half a quart of water. If you're wondering how much I'm using. And that seemed to work really good last time when I made my last box up. Normally I use like a 50-50 vermiculite water by weight, like 100 grams of each. But that doesn't really work with the perlite. You definitely have to add an excess of water, a lot more water by weight. So then I just kind of even it out as much as I can. Get it pretty level so the eggs don't roll around too much. And this stuff kind of gets all over your hands. And then this is an egg crate. You can use like a ceiling tile. I've seen people use like a ceiling tile. I actually got this over on Amazon. Another thing you can use is the fish dividers. And sometimes you can just buy these. I don't even know what this was for. It looked like you can actually snap these together and make something. I don't know what exactly the main purpose of this one was originally. I had those a long time ago, and then I just put that right up on top to keep the eggs off of the substrate, and then I'm going to put the eggs right in the egg box. Alright, so we ended up with 5.5 eggs. I don't know how much confidence I want to put in that little tiny boob egg. If we get a snake from that, it's going to be super tiny, which is, I've actually had snakes that were really super tiny like that, but it's possible. But with 5 eggs, we should get at least one scaleless head, completely scaleless ball python. As a matter of fact, with 2 scaleless heads, we'll actually have it's like a 66% chance that we'll hit more scaleless heads. So if I hit another scaleless head with all 3 genes in it, I might actually hold that one back as a future breeder and replace one of my other ones. And then I just use press and seal and put it in there. So this press and seal, I don't know, I've been kind of going back and forth between putting holes in, putting a kind of like a little crack on the side. And what I've kind of went to lately with most of my eggs is I'll completely seal it for the first majority of the incubation, and then on my reticulated pythons that are going to hatch in like 2 weeks, I actually just went in there after they've been incubating for like 2.5 months, completely sealed up. I went in there just the other day and I just cracked them just a little bit. So you make sure you get a little more air when those snakes come out so they can breathe and they don't suffocate. I've actually seen some people with DOAs where they'll completely develop, and then before they completely come out, they'll actually die in there. And I'm convinced that in some cases, you might not have enough air at the very end of the incubation. So I'm just going to completely seal them so they have enough humidity for the first part, the first majority. I'd say at least 3/4 of the way through the incubation, you want it completely sealed. And then I just go in right at the end and kind of crack them a little bit. That's what I've been doing lately. I've seen some people just completely seal it for the whole time and not have any problems, but that's kind of my new thing. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I want to make some labels for this box. Alright, so here is the male that I bred to that female. This is just a regular lesser with the addition of the scaleless head. A few scales missing from the top of the head. The other way you can tell it's a scaleless head is if you actually look at the last scale right before the vent on the bottom where they go to the bathroom. That last scale is split in 2. Instead of being a completely solid scale, it's split in half. So it's this last scale, if you can see it, right down here, this scale right here, it's actually split right in 2. And if it's not a scaleless head, every single one I've seen in my collection, if it's a scaleless head, it's split. If it's not a scaleless head, it's one single scale. That's one way you can tell. Pretty much for sure, as far as I know, that you have a scaleless head. Alright, so here's the 2 labels. I always put the pairing, lesser scaleless head crossed with the lemon blast scaleless head, just in case I lose all my records. I like to label everything so I know if it's kind of like an absolute backup, so I know exactly what the genes are. And then I always do the laid date. Today is the 24th of April, 2022. It should hatch in 2 months, the 23rd of June. Alright, so here's my snake egg incubator filling up with eggs. Look at all the eggs I have. And most of these are reticulated python eggs. They're actually going to hatch on the 8th of May, which is coming up pretty soon, which is pretty awesome. Kind of the other thing that's interesting is I actually went through here and I went through all my reticulated python eggs and I cracked a little corner, and then I kind of mixed up all my boxes and I put some of the boxes on the bottom right over the fan. I actually have one fan at the bottom that pushes air up through my incubator. And then the other thing, I actually have this little alarm here. If it goes too low, it'll alarm. And the funny thing is that when I put one of the boxes over that fan, my temperatures went down to 86 and the alarm actually went off, which is kind of crazy. So the placement of the eggs in the incubator and the fan and the way everything works has to be really precise. So Another good thing to do is, if you have a big incubator like this that's really tall, is to put some temperature probes in there and put them on alarms. I just have one. I'm actually thinking about maybe doing more alarms and temperature probes through the whole thing. Then that way, if I get one spot that's kind of cold or hot, that it'll alarm, and I can kind of rearrange things. So I was thinking maybe I could take the fan, move it to the middle, and then move all the eggs to the side, and then have the airflow come up the middle. Maybe I bet I could do that if I move these over left and right. I made like a chimney right through the middle. That's probably the best way. I move my fan over a little. Maybe I'll do that next time, especially if I start getting, you know, more clutches and this thing fills up before my reticulated python eggs hatch. So that's pretty much it. I have 2 clutches of ball pythons already this year, and then I have my reticulated pythons, and then I had another clutch that already hatched, my albino, that I fed the first meal already. So things are moving along here in the reptile room, which is pretty exciting. All right, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.